It's time for the final region recap, but first I want to take you around the county and see what some other regions have been up to. First off, Travelers Rest versus Blue Ridge tonight to see who gets that region championship. Blue Ridge was actually able to beat TR earlier in region to claim that number 1 seed, but after Blue Ridge lost to Broome, it's a tie. So this game will see who can get that trophy for region championship. Moving on, Wren and Powdersville have absolutely ran their region, man. Basically, all blowouts, no matter who they play. But Wren was able to claim the region champs the other night when they beat Powdersville for the second time. Was it a buzzer beater? Did he get it off? The ref said he did. But moving on, Baba has absolutely been killing right now. Since basically 2024, maybe even a little bit before, he's been on a tear, and it's great to see he's been playing really well with Wren lately. Wren as a team has also been playing really well, and that's great to see. Christchurch claims another region championship once again for 2 years in a row. I believe they have their last game tomorrow or today. Haven't really checked into it, but right now 7-0 in region, playing really well, and should be able to cap off a undefeated region record. Greenville and Westside running the other 4A region in the area, both currently 8-1, I believe, and have one more game left in region. But I'm not exactly sure who gets that region championship. I know Greenville won by 20 the first time, so maybe they'll get it by point differential. But I wouldn't mind seeing this team play again just to see, an absolute dogfight again. Been great seeing these teams compete against each other for the past 2 years. But lastly, moving down to 2A, Greer Middle College and Landrum dominated in region, both 9-1 currently after GMC was able to beat Landrum on Tuesday night, which makes them both co-region champs, and they play tonight for the first seed for playoff seeding positions. Now let's get back to the usual, man. Starting off with Greenville 4A, Greer and Riverside are currently tied for first seed at 6-1. Eastside for third seed at 4-3. Lawrence at 1-7, and Wade Hampton at 1-6, tied for the fourth seed. And let's just say my scenario where I said Eastside would have to beat Greer, it didn't really work out. Greer went into Eastside's gym, handled business like they should, and they basically made it between them and Riverside for this Friday. But scenario 2 did work out. Wade Hampton did beat Lawrence, so they are now tied for fourth place. So I'm not exactly sure if they have to play again or if they'll go by point differential. But if they do go by point differential, I believe Wade Hampton will make it in as the fourth seed with that win. And you never know. Wade Hampton could win on Friday night. I mean, I will get more into how they've been doing, but, maybe they want to clinch that spot with no point differential regarded. Game to watch this week, definitely Greer versus Riverside this Friday at Greer. Game for region, should be the game of maybe one of the best games of the year, I'm just saying. But I know Greer is going to be looking for that revenge, especially after losing last time at Riverside. And I don't know if a lot of y'all remember, but this is a lot like last year where Greer had to play at Riverside and beat them in order to claim that co-region championship alongside Wade Hampton. So Riverside's also claiming that revenge from last season. But, only time will tell. Should be a great one. I hope I can make it out there. But let's start off with these individual teams. Greer handled business versus a rolling Eastside team on Friday last week, which I talked about, playing really well. They're claiming revenge versus a disciplined Riverside team this Friday, hopefully. And Mikey and Amari have both played really solid. They played real good versus Eastside with 16 points apiece. Obviously, I said Braden played really well last Tuesday and even got nominated for Player of the Week. And Amari's looking like a real leader lately, playing really well, just guiding the team. Of course, they got Braden Lights for that as well, though. But, Amari's been doing good on his leadership. Moving on, Riverside won their only game last week versus Lawrence in confident fashion last Tuesday. And then another big win versus a hungry Wade Hampton team on Tuesday by about 20 points. They play for the region championship at Greer, like I've said. June Laturbe has been playing really solid, though. I see he keeps getting, the impact player of the game. That's what he's supposed to be doing, man. He's playing real good, leading his team to victories, and, nothing more. There's nothing much more you can ask for. Eastside, tough loss on Friday, but they took care of business on Tuesday versus Lawrence, won by about 20 points. Their last region game will be against Wade Hampton. They are the solidified third seed. We just have to see who they play in the playoffs. I've heard it might be Lancaster again. That's what I've heard. So it might be a little revenge of last year. I know it was a tough game last year, but I think this team is better this year. So we'll see how that goes for them. Moving on, Wade Hampton finally got a region win last Friday against Lawrence at the crib, man. I think they won by about 12 points. Although then even with that win, they did lose on Tuesday to Riverside, like I said, but Riverside's a very strong team. I didn't really see them hanging with them. They lost by about 20 points. And like I said, maybe they beat Eastside on Friday. Maybe they, get a resurgence and clinch the playoffs. But I believe Eastside should be able to win this game. Not with no problem, but, with the way they play, I think they should be able to win this game. And I believe Wade Hampton will be in the playoffs based off point differential. Or, we get to see another Lawrence versus Wade Hampton matchup, which I wouldn't mind. Lastly, I skipped over Lawrence. Lawrence lost by 20 to Eastside on Tuesday, which actually capped off their region as 1-7. They haven't won since that first Wade Hampton game. I knew it would be a little tough for them, just their depth and all that. But, they still have a chance to make the playoffs if they are able to play Wade Hampton once more. Otherwise, that will be the end of their season on Tuesday. But they've had a really solid – they've had a better season than last year. They built on things. They didn't get worse. I know last year they didn't even win a game in the region. So, one win, that's building on top of each other. And they still have their strong junior guard coming back next year, Taj Jones. So that's good to see. Moving into the Greenville County 5A region, Malden at the 1 seed at 6-1, Teal-Hanna at the 2 seed at 5-3, Woodmont and JL tied for 3rd at 3-4, and Hillcrest at the 5th seed at 1-6. The game to watch this week will have to be Malden versus Woodmont to watch some great Malden basketball. I'm not even saying this game was actually a really good game at Malden earlier this year. I think Malden only won by 4 when they were tied earlier for the 2nd seed, I believe. But I'm just putting this down because if you want to watch great basketball, go watch Malden, man. Playing amazing. First of all, claimed the region championship this Tuesday after defeating Hillcrest by 27 points away. Offense has been looking amazing. They scored 90 points in that game, by the way. Also won the last region home game versus JL last Friday by 7. Like I said, they're on fire lately. One of the biggest resurgences from one year to the next that I've seen in a while. Last year, like I said in the video about them, didn't even make the playoffs to now, region champs, back on top, just 2 years apart. And then last region game versus a hungry Woodmont team on Friday. Woodmont is looking to claim that 3rd spot, so I wouldn't be surprised if, Woodmont might steal one off Malden, but that would be tough to do based off how Malden's been playing. Teal-Hanna was able to clinch the 2nd seed after beating Woodmont by 7 on Tuesday at Woodmont. I always say it's very tough to play at Woodmont because they know how to hit game winners, man, especially Dre Huff and Drake, man. They'll find a way to get it close near the end. Something goes up, it might just drop. But they were able to get the dub. Teal-Hanna had been on a 3-game skid after giving Hillcrest their first region win last Friday, which I know they have been playing not the best basketball, but when I saw that, man, Hillcrest finally got their first dub. Might be their only one. We'll see how they do on Friday, but crazy that they Teal-Hanna lost to Hillcrest on Friday, but good to see them finish region off with a win, and hopefully that will carry momentum into the playoffs as they continue their season next week. First 3rd seed I want to talk about is Woodmont, currently tied alongside JL once again lost in a close game to Teal-Hanna on Tuesday, but has a chance to take down, like I said, the giant Malden. I think this won't be an easy game for them, but if they do, it might solidify that 3rd seed. Otherwise, I'm not sure if, depending on how JL does, if JL and Woodmont end up tying, maybe it'll go by point differential. I'm not sure if they'll have to play again, but interested to see in that because JL versus Woodmont always seems like a very fun game to watch, and I wouldn't mind going to watch it. But moving on to JL, they lost to Malden on Friday, but had been playing really solid before that. Was on a 3-game win streak prior to this loss. And their last region game is at home versus Hillcrest this Friday. If they win this game, they will either clinch the 3rd or 4th seed, depending on how Woodmont does. Once again, I'm not exactly sure how it will work if they both lose or both win, but only time will tell. I'm not going to rush into scenarios. Hillcrest, 5th seed, beat a struggling Hannah team last Friday. That's something these guys can remember, man. T.O. Hannah was is one of the best teams in 5A this year, and for them to go into Hannah and get this dub was huge for them, huge for their confidence. Lost on Tuesday by 27 points to Malden, like I said, but their last region home game versus J.O. Man will be their last game of the season. This is purely a game for their pride. Hopefully they'll go out there and win their last game of the season, because you don't want to go out there and just roll the balls out and just give up, man. Play with urgency. Hopefully have a better outcome than Tuesday. But been a decent. I talked about Hillcrest earlier. Was a decent season in the first half. Struggled a lot in the second half, but great to see them beat T.O. Hannah. And I'm excited for this team's future if all these guys stay. Moving on to my final region, being Spartanburg's 5A region. Burns at the 1 seed at 7-0, Gaffney at the 2 seed at 5-2, Dorman at the 3 seed at 4-3, Spartanburg at the 4 seed at 2-5, and Boiling Springs in the 5th seed at 0-8. The game to watch this week is Dorman versus Spartanburg at Dorman this Friday. I'm just a little excited. I'll explain later why this should be the game of the week for them. Burns, obviously heavily running this region, 7-0, no losses. Out of these 3 regions I've been keeping up with, they're the only team with no losses still. Beat a strong Dorman team on Friday by 3 to claim region champs. First region championship since 2016, I heard. Crazy, man. Dorman's been on top for that long. Plays Gaffney on the road this Friday to finish off region. Might be a tough one. We'll see. I mean, obviously the first time they beat him by 27 at Burns, but Gaffney might be looking for some revenge this time. And lastly, Evan Enos and Will Fowler have been hooping for Burns lately. It took me a minute to see that Evan has been playing a lot better than earlier. I know I said he was making shots, but rebounds and shots, he's been playing really solid. And like I always say, Will Fowler just leading the team, getting buckets when needed, made some clutch free throws down the stretch against Dorman. Second seed, I want to talk about Gaffney. It's about that time I make a video on Gaffney soon, man. One of the craziest turnarounds alongside Malden that I've seen in a while. Last year, going 0-8 in region, and this year, they are 5-2 currently, but that's not even their season, man. You've seen it all the way through. I'm not sure if it's just them having media coverage, new coach, new culture, but this team has made a complete turnaround, and I'm very excited to see how they do in the playoffs and how they finish off the season. But really solid team. They defeated a struggling Boiling Springs team last Friday, then lost by 10 to obviously a very determined and well-coached Dorman team on Tuesday after leading at halftime. But, it was at Dorman, so it's a tough crowd, tough crowd. One main positive I want to talk about, though, Ricky Littlejohn, the freshman, it has been killing in region play, man. He had 28 points versus Boiling Springs on Friday, and I just keep seeing his name pop up. This guy's been playing really well. Moving on to Dorman, they lost by 3 in a nail-biter versus Burns on Friday, like I said. Bounced back with the 10-point dub versus Gaffney on Tuesday, and then they play Spartanburg this Friday to possibly cause a tie for the 2nd seed in region if Gaffney loses to Burns. And this will be interesting. I'm not sure if this region does point differential or if Gaffney and Dorman will have to play each other if Gaffney loses and Dorman wins on Friday. So I'm interested to see this. I know Dorman's knowing that in the back of their mind, and I'm excited to see how that all plays out, but only time will tell. Spartanburg, they beat a young Boiling Springs team by 20 points in a crucial must-win game on senior night. Was really good to see after they have been losing by a little bit each game. They have to finish off by playing Dorman on the road on Friday, though. It's going to be a tough one. But do I think they can do it? Maybe not. We'll see how they finish out. But they are making the playoffs. They clinched the playoffs against Boiling Springs on Tuesday, so that's great to see. And, like I said, they compete against everyone. It's only a matter of fact if they can finish the game out. Lastly, Boiling Springs, lost to a strong Gaffney team from last Friday, then lost to Spartanburg, who was searching for the playoffs on Tuesday. Wasn't able to get a region win this year. Has a bright future, though, in some of their young guys, being Josiah Foster and their big man down low. But, excited to see how this team comes back next year. Great season for Landis Sprouse. And with all that being said, this is the final region recap of 2024. Congratulations to all the teams that won region. And until next time, I'll be back for the playoffs. Peace.